This is a video on how to use the factor labor method for converting units of measurement into other units of measurement. Very simple. We use conversion factors that are made from qualities from each unit, or different units, and they're arranged in a fraction. And the key thing is the units cancel other units out, except for the desired unit. So let's do a problem that shows how this works. Here's a metric to metric problem, metric conversion to metric problem. So our first problem is going to be if I have 262 milligrams, the question is going to be is how many grams do I have of that particular measurement? Well, we set this up very simple. We put 262 milligrams in the numerator. We draw a line this way, we draw a line that way. Now, if there's nothing down here, it's assumed to be a 1. This is your numerator, this is your denominator. This line here means we're going to multiply. This line here means we're going to divide. So now we need a conversion, we need a unit of measure in which the numerator equals the denominator. So in this particular problem, we're going from milligrams to grams. And so we do know from the metric system that 1,000 milligrams is equal to 1 gram. Notice that 1 gram equals 1,000 milligrams. Notice also we multiply across the top and we divide the top by the bottom. So in this case, the way this works out really well is that the units of measure, the milligrams, cancel on each side, and so I'm left with the final units of grams, which is my desire. So 262 times 1 divided by, or times 1 gram divided by 1,000 would equal 0.262 grams. That's an easy metric to metric problem. This is going to be an English to English problem. Let's say I've got 25 yards and I want to know how many feet that is. We're going to set it up the same way. 25 yards. Draw my line this way, draw my line that way. Now remember, if I've got yards here, I've got to have yards down here so the units cancel. These two units have got to cancel. So how many yards is equal to a foot, or so forth? So we do know this, that 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. Yards cancel, and I'm left with 25 times 3 feet divided by 1, and that's going to give me 75 feet. Again, fairly easy. Another problem, an English or a metric to English problem. That's going to be a little bit more difficult when we need to know more conversion factors, but we're going to do one here. Let's do 10 kilograms. 10 kilometers. And we want to know how many miles that is. Again, we'll set this up. 10 kilometers. Draw our factor label line. Again, if kilometers is here, kilometers has got to be down here. And I do know this, 1 kilometer is equivalent to 0.621 miles. Now notice I know a lot of the equivalencies. These equivalencies can be looked up anywhere. I just happen to know them. Kilometers cancels, so I'm left with 10 times 0.621, which in this case is going to give me 6.21 miles. Again, notice that the units cancel here. Kilometers cancels kilometers, and we're left with miles. Do another one. Let's do a rate problem. Rate problems are a little bit more difficult, and let's do a fairly easy one where we know the equivalencies pretty easily. So let's do 20 miles an hour, and that equals how many feet per second? Well, that's going to be a little bit more difficult, so let's set this up. This is going to be a little bit more involved. So let's go here, 20 miles on the top, 1 hour on the bottom, 20 miles per hour. Now we're going to first convert miles, I think. So I do need to know equivalency between miles and feet, and I do know that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. Miles cancel miles. Notice, again, they cancel this way. So if I multiply this out, my units are going to be feet per hour, but I don't want feet per hour. I want feet per second. So now I've got the top where I want it in feet. Let's go to the bottom now. Hours now is in the denominator, so I need to have hours in the numerator. So I do know that 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. Now notice here, this value is in the denominator, so this has to be in the numerator. So I can cross out hours. Now I'm left with feet per minute, and I don't want feet per minute. I still want feet per second. So I do know this. Minutes is in the denominator, so I do know that 1 minute, which I'll put in the numerator, is equivalent to 60 seconds. Minutes cancel minute. Again, because this is in the numerator, that's in the denominator, the values can cancel. So now I multiply 20 times 5280 times 1 times 1 divided by 1 times 1 times 60 times 60. And when I do the calculation, I should get 29.33 feet per second. That's a little bit more exhausting, but it does work. Let's go to 1. And this is a volume measurement. These are the most difficult ones to do because of the amount of work that we have to do in those. So let's take a look at this one here. Let's say we have 500 centimeters cubed, and we want to know how many decimeters cubed that is. Well, this is not as difficult as it looks. We've got to somehow set this problem up where we can account for 500 centimeters cubed, and that's fairly easy. We can write out 500 centimeters times 1 centimeter times 1 centimeter. Now notice here, this does equal 500 centimeters cubed. Now we're going to go ahead and we've got to do our conversions. If centimeters is in the numerator, we've got to put centimeters down here in the denominator. So we do know that 10 centimeters is equivalent to 1 decimeter. This centimeter cancels this one, but I have another centimeter to go, so I got to do it again. 10 centimeters is 1 decimeter. This centimeter cancels this centimeter, but I still have 1 more centimeter to go. 10 centimeters is equal to 1 decimeter. That centimeter cancels that one out. So in looking at this, we take 500 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 divided by 10 times 10 is 100 times 10 is 1,000. So basically 500 divided by 1,000, and we should get 0.5 decimeters cubed. I found that it's easier to do volume type measurements by dividing it up into threes like I did here. So keep in mind that when you do factor labor and summation, that your units always have to cancel. Again, 1 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator, 1 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator, 1 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator. As I go across the top, I multiply. As I go across the bottom, I multiply. As I go from top to bottom, I divide.